Have you ever found yourself in a situation where you have said yes to something that you actually really wanted to say no to, or you might even have found yourself saying no to something, ironically, you really wanted to say yes to? Now most of us will experience this more than once or twice throughout our lives. It's kind of like sometimes we don't even understand ourselves. See, we're complex creatures, us human beings. It's like sometimes we end up acting and behaving or communicating or, behaving in a way that we don't even really understand. It's kind of like sometimes we don't know why we say and do the things that we say and do. I remember going back maybe 9 years ago, I used to do a little bit of work in one of the prisons here in Scotland. And it was a couple of young men I was mentoring, I was kind of coaching, counselling at the time, who just kept on repeat offending. These young men, it's not like they were bad guys, but they had got into this habitual pattern of behaviour where they would commit a crime and then spend maybe 4 or 5 months in prison, and then they would end up getting released on good behaviour. So inside a prison, they behaved amicably, behaved brilliantly. Then as soon as they got released, they were back into bad behaviour patterns again. And when I went along speaking to these guys, I remember we were sitting in a little group, and I say, right guys, why is it that we behave the way in which we do? And if I could have got this on camera to show you, it would have been fascinating. They're all sitting there, dumbfounded, saying, I don't know, I just do it, it just happens. All right, listen, we all experience this in life. We all sometimes act and behave and say and do things that we don't mean to do. It's kind of like there's sometimes we just don't understand ourselves fully. And this is a model I want to now present you with called the Johari Window. And when we understand this model, we can actually begin to step out from unaware slavery, right? This is what I want to call it. Unawareness in life is kind of like slavery. It's kind of like modern day slavery. When we don't know the reasons why we act and behave, when there's parts of us that we essentially don't understand, if we don't understand what's motivating or driving our behavior, if we don't understand why it is that we sometimes react or respond to certain people in certain ways, we're actually slaves bound to our own patterns of habitual behavior. All right, so if we want to develop self-control and act and behave and conduct ourselves more effectively or efficiently in life, it's imperative that we grow in self-awareness. So this Johari window of insight allows us to better understand ourselves, but also allows us to better understand how it is that we are related to by other people, but also how it is that we relate to others. Make sense? As human beings, we don't stand alone in isolation. We're all social creatures, aren't we? We're all relating to all people all of the time in the same way other people are relating to us. How articulate we become in terms of how we communicate our experience determines how well we are understood by other people. The problem is that we sometimes don't understand our own experience, which means that we might find it quite difficult to share and be honest with other people. So let us start off by looking at this arena of our day-to-day experience. I want to do my best to really break this down and communicate this idea in as simple a way as physically possible. There's this part of ourselves that is known to us and that is known to other people. We call this the arena. It's what we know and it's what other people can see. So it's perhaps the persona that we put on. It's the actions and the behaviours that we subscribe to or commit to habitually that we're aware of. It's the part of us that we're aware of. It's the part of us that other people are also aware of. All right, but it's just one part of us. There's then this other part of us. And this is when things start getting a little bit more confrontational, a little bit more thought-provoking and challenging. The facade. The facade, all right? Let us think about Instagram these days. Let's think about some of the social medias. Let's think about how many young people or middle-aged people or older people use filters on their social media photographs. Now, this might not be you, right? You might be saying, yes, I can quite boldly and confidently say that I don't do that. Many people do. Why? To put up some sort of social facade, to make themselves out to be someone that they aren't. It's ironic, isn't it? Think about what some of the highest paying professionals are in the world and what they do. Actors, actresses, It's ironic. It really is. Some of the highest paid individuals in the world get paid so much for pretending to be someone who they aren't. Some people go through life saying, oh, I would love to be a professional actor. I would go as far as saying that pretty much every single human being in the world already is a professional actor, because we all have a public-facing facade, all right? As we grow and mature in life, what we actually grow and mature in is authenticity, it's congruence, it's genuineness, it's realness. As we grow in congruence and genuineness and transparency and realness, we grow out of our facade. The facade is just this persona that we put on to protect ourselves. It's who we make ourselves out to be when we are sometimes in fear of being misjudged or assumed the worst of or rejected or dismissed or undermined by other people, because none of us like to experience rejection in life. Am I speaking to someone that you know? All right, so our facade. Our facade is our public persona. It's the version of us that we present onto other people. This is known to us, but it's not always known to other people, all right? And this is the interesting thing, because sometimes when we commit our lives to this facade, to being this kind of person who we actually aren't, what this means is that other people will end up buying into and liking the facade. And what this means is that some people end up buying into someone who we aren't. So we think we have friends, associates, colleagues, but who these people think we are isn't who we are. It's just our facade, all right? So it's interesting, isn't it? Because I've counselled and I've coached some people over the years who work in the public eye, all right? And by this, what I mean, they've perhaps accomplished some things, they've maybe reached a degree of stardom, popularity. And the common problem that I've found with people, especially those who operate in the public eye, people who get famous, is they end up having this public persona, and they end up having millions or thousands or tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of people around the world wanting to be with them or associate with them or be friends with them or wanting to get something from them. And whilst they have so many people associating themselves with these individuals, they end up feeling completely lonely. Why? Because if you think about it, if the relationships that we have are based upon a lie, then the relationships that we have aren't relationships at all. It's all falsehood, all right? And this is sadly where many people live their lives, commit their days to trying to be someone that they're not, thinking that who they are isn't good enough, isn't lovable enough, isn't likable, isn't professional enough, isn't this enough, isn't good looking enough, isn't smart enough, isn't this enough, isn't that enough, all right? So as we grow in awareness, as we learn how to remove the limitations, the diagnoses, the disorders, the limiting terminologies, as we grow in our ability to extract and remove all this stuff from our life, we create space for us to grow and actually become more of who we are, thus giving other people the opportunity to know us better and make a well-informed decision as to whether we're the kind of people that they want to spend time with or not. And the quality of our lives will be determined by the quality and the caliber and the depth of our relationships. The depth of our relationships will be determined by how congruent and authentic we are. All right? Now this might seem like common sense. I would say, yeah, it is common sense, or maybe it's uncommon sense, because not everyone gets this, and again, it's not taught in school. So, this part of us, the facade, is known by us because we know we're putting on a facade, and we do our best to fool other people into thinking that our facade is who we actually are, and it comes at the cost to every single one of us. So, we then have blind spots, all right? Blind spots. And the blind spots that we have in our life are the parts of our person, our persona, our attitude, our behavior, parts that we might think are okay, parts that we're absolutely blind to, that we're ignorant to, parts of us that we can't see, but they're the parts of us other people can see. All right, so this is the part of us that we are aware of, that other people are aware of. This is the part of us that we're aware of, that other people aren't aware of. This is now the part of us that other people are aware of, but we aren't, our blind spots. So unless we're committed to the process of growing in authenticity and realness and congruence, then there's a pretty good chance other people will not trust us enough to be completely honest with us. Therefore, us having our awareness levels raised to our blind spots, thus being given the opportunity to grow and improve and develop, which obviously then goes on to improve our mental health and emotional well-being. Right. These are just the opportunities that we have for personal growth, right? This is what the Johari Window essentially presents us with. Helps us to break ourselves down in 4 different components. Then we have this part of us that we're completely unaware of, all right? This is the part of us where we act and behave and say and do things that we don't even intend. All right, is there an area of your life right now that you're perhaps experiencing a bit of crisis in, a bit of a problem? It might be a relational tension, or you've just got a huge problem. And this problem, if you're going to be completely honest, you have influenced just a little bit, but you didn't do so intentionally. All right, perhaps it might be a relationship that perhaps is falling apart or crumbling, or it might be a little bit sensitive right now. And remember, right, we can, if we're going to be completely honest, the issues and the problems that we have in our life can be everyone else's fault, or perhaps it might be something to do with us. All right, what I'm saying is, when we are not aware of ourselves, the problems and the tensions and the issues in our lives generally tend to be everyone else's fault. It's kind of like everyone else is either a narcissist or a bad guy or a villain. We're the victim, all this kind of stuff. As we grow in self-awareness, we start taking responsibility for the part that we play in determining our own results and outcomes, all right? It's part of the personal growth process, friends. So the key in life, all right, is for us to, and we're all kind of start here, all right? We all start here. It's actually to kind of navigate our lives in this direction. We want to be taking ground. The ground that we want to be taking is on awareness. We need to be becoming more aware of that which we were previously unaware of. Because it's only once we become more aware of that which we were previously unaware of that we can start taking a greater degree of responsibility and control for determining our actions, our habits, our behaviors, our next steps as we consider what it is that we actually want to accomplish in life. We become less victims of circumstance and more masters of our own destiny, all right? And understanding that the only person who's really ever going to determine how much progress we ultimately make in life is us. And if you want to know what progress actually looks like, really, practically, it's not about us growing in wealth or perhaps getting the next promotion. It's actually about us understanding ourselves more thoroughly and why we act and say and do the things that we say and do sometimes. It's about bringing our unawareness into our conscious awareness, all right? And this is what I'm going to be helping you with throughout the rest of this section and the sections that follow. So listen, I've got a couple of questions for you here, all right? To get you started on this journey of self-awareness, which is kind of what we're taking now, all right? In what ways are you self-aware? Just how self-aware are you? Because self-awareness precedes all personal growth. And if you do want to grow and mature as a person, all right, which is a good thing, I still want to grow more and mature more as a person, right? Maturity is kind of like the destination. I'm certainly not there yet, but I am on the way. Here's a couple of questions for your own self-reflection now. Over the last 30 days, how often have you struggled in a relationship with someone close to you? Over the last 30 days, how often have you felt lonely, isolated, unappreciated, or unheard? Over the last 30 days, how often have you felt unproductive or lost in what you should do next? How about, have you been underslept, underfed, felt low in energy, or unhealthy in general? How about stressed about your work, your business, or your personal finances? I remember it was the start of 2020, we had the COVID-19 pandemic, and it's changed the entire world. It's changed the way in which education is delivered and received. It has changed the way in which now people work. It's changed everything. A lot of people were not prepared for it. It caught a lot of people out. All right, so we're essentially either going to be being emotionally influenced by factors outside of ourselves, or we're going to be managing and regulating our emotional responses. All right. Do you allow factors outside of you to stress you out, or are you in control of this? All right. How aware are you? How aware are you? Listen, we're not looking to resolve anything right now. It's just about you growing in awareness of the areas that you have in your life to improve upon. All right. Is that okay? How about you might be uncertain about your future career or direction? You might be physically, emotionally hurt, ill, or debilitated. In what ways are you self-aware? Right? Some people will go through, spend years of their life really frustrated, really angry, because they feel unproductive or lost, or because they feel lonely, isolated, and they remain angry, end up undermining the one thing they want the most, snapping at people. It's kind of like sometimes hurt people. I don't know if you can relate to that. What I'm saying here is that people tend to avoid discomfort through distraction. So the approach that most people take when they experience those things is avoid focusing on the real reasons why they have these issues in their life. Right? They avoid focusing on what the solution could be and instead focus on the problem, perhaps who brought this problem into their life, end up angry or hurt or agitated or stressed out or get completely depressed or something like this. The options are then, when we feel this way, we can go to the professionals, go to the mental health experts and go and get some diagnosis and some disorders, or we can actually look to essentially establish our goals and what it is that we actually want, so we can take responsibility for driving the process that's going to enable us to accomplish and achieve our goals. We're either going to take responsibility for what we want more of in life, or we're going to hope and pray that someone else does. All right? One approach to life will leave us empowered. One approach to life will leave us disempowered and reliant on an expert somewhere to hopefully fix and sort our lives out for us. People have this tendency of undermining the human experience by medicalizing common day-to-day phenomena. Some people define their emotions, their state, their experiences day-to-day as illness or disorder. For example, a person might feel a little bit anxious. So when a person who's experiencing anxiety, just as an example here, goes to a doctor or a mental health expert and says, I'm feeling anxious, the expert will then take a few minutes to ask some questions, issue a diagnosis, but all this does is it just simply defines the problem. It offers no solution. All right, so we're here essentially focused on bringing resolve into our life and into other people's life, rather than just simply defining and educating people on their problems. All right, self-awareness is critical to all of this, by the way. Emotions are powerful, and they are. All right, the main thing I really want to spell out here as well is that emotions are not to be undermined. They're not to be fobbed off or belittled, not at all, because they are powerful. All right, especially for people who have been suppressing their emotions for most of their lives. But how it is that we can learn to master and overcome our emotions is through understanding where they come from. If we can understand where our emotions come from, then we can begin to regulate and manage them. The idea is this, that we're going to go through life either managing ourselves and our emotions, or we're going to go through life being managed by our emotions. One of these options is an expression of self-control, the other isn't. All right? We get to decide how it is that we live our lives, for better or for worse. The choices that we make will determine the outcomes that we go on to experience, for better or for worse. We are each masters of our own destiny, whether we are aware of this, whether we appreciate it, whether we agree or whether we disagree. The last idea that I just want to share with you, all right, I know I've asked you these questions for your own reflection, but the last idea I want to share here is that we don't know what we don't know in life, all right? And this is what this Johari window of insight can help us to appreciate. We do not know what we don't know. Many people will approach life, new ideas, from the attitude of, I agree, I disagree. No, we don't agree or disagree. That's not useful. If we agree with things that we already agree with, that's fantastic, but it's not allowing us to better understand ourselves or become more educated. Disagreeing is just simply us rejecting any idea that conflicts with our current worldview or perspective. Again, it closes the door to further ongoing personal education, which can lead to self-awareness. So, If we acknowledge that we don't know what we don't know, it can bring us into a place of humility and openness to learn, to receive new ideas, even if they are confrontational or challenging. And this is what essentially we all need to do if we are to grow in self-awareness and maturity, responsibility, character, decisiveness, so on and so forth.